I'm here today with Christianem Seibertem, and we will talk a bit about trees and your career. Can you tell me how your passion for trees began?
Hi Jarek, thanks to have me. Started 15 years ago. I started to do it professionally, and after doing a lot of different things as a job, and after study of the university, mainly dealing with ecology and also with engineering biology, river ecology, and I was always searching for a possibility to combine my passion for sports and movement and motion with ecology and with my passion for nature. Actually, it worked out pretty good, to be honest.
Okay, so the trees. This is more about tree climbing. What inspired you really for the tree care?
I think at least I cannot really separate it. It's one thing. Once you're up there, once I'm up there in the tree, you see things. Of course, you're very often asked to do special things, and customers want to have things done, and then they have to be done. And or sometimes you have to do. Sometimes I do other things, different things, and the customers want to. But pruning is, of course, one part of the whole thing, and I call it the preservation of the trees is like always my biggest aim.
You had quite interesting encounter with cache hunting on trees. Can you tell us more about that?
Yeah, that was in the very beginning. I was asked by friends once. There is caches in trees as well, and they asked me if I could help them because they knew what I was doing, and they told me how long it took them to get into just a fork and maybe 10 meters, which is not very high, very easy aim actually. And I said, okay, I can join you and for a day, and I threw the line through there, and they were just really impressed. It was actually one of my easiest jobs, and I could never impress someone else so quickly.
And how did your experience in mountain climbing evolved or changed your way to climb trees?
Yeah, this is actually where I'm coming from. I did this as a youth and as a grown-up very much as a recreative sport, being out there in nature and climbing. Was also interested in rope techniques, but it's in climbing style. I was doing sport climbing. You use the ropes mainly for securing yourself in the case of falling, slipping, and not for accessing the rocks or the peaks. But I like the gear. I liked the gear and still like it. Carabines and ropes and everything, and always informed myself about this, and I took a lot of knowledge into tree care and tree climbing as well. We have to say, or we have to stress, I want to stress it, it's really two different kinds of techniques, and there's not so much overlapping actually, but it's still moving in a three-dimensional area in the height, you can say. Yeah.
You mentioned that you are a fan of sports. What other sports do you do?
I used to do a lot of martial arts when I was younger, and still like to do it, and mountain biking, everything that has to do with bikes, skiing, of course. I come from Austria, you have to. I like to do it, and yeah, any kind of fitness sports to keep me healthy. I do CrossFit at the moment quite a lot to stay fit.
Do you think that tree care contributes to the, let's say, broader aim of sustainability of life? And how do you feel this connection? Very much.
If not, I wouldn't be there. I would say it starts from talking. It begins when I talk to people about their tree or their trees in their garden, and very soon they get interested in, oh, it's actually a bit more complicated than I thought, or maybe we can do some other things, or maybe their idea, they realize that their idea is not the best way to handle the tree, like toppings or stuff like that. And very often I manage to save a tree or preserve it from damage or from weird ideas of making it half the height, or you all know this kind of stuff, and it's giving these owners a way to deal with a tree and to take the fear that trees are not something super dangerous, and big trees don't have to be more dangerous just if they hire, and that's a big thing. And I'm quite proud of the amount of trees I think that I've already saved by talking to people and to explain how they work, how trees work, and how we can handle the whole thing.
So your clients are more private owners or cities?
There's a lot of private owners, but it's also smaller cities, communities, municipalities, and they all have the same problems and they all have the same questions.
Do you have in mind any story and any special experience you had whilst communicating trees with your clients, with owners?
Several. To be honest, it's always this process that very often starts on the telephone, and I think at that moment it will end somewhere completely different, where the tree owners think it will end, and this that makes it still interesting, and when they're happy afterwards, that's a win-win, or let's say a win-win-win situation for me, for them, and for the tree, of course. Yeah.
Pretty specific area of tree care is veteran tree care. How was the level in Austria or in your area where you work?
In the very area where I work, we have a bit of lack of really old trees, because most of them were taken down after the big wars, and I live on a little north of Vienna, the little one of the last hills of the Alps. All the trees were taken away, almost all of them, and so we don't have really old veteran trees like we saw today. For example, this is 3 to 5 or even maybe 1,000-year-old trees. But there are some trees that have the potential to go into this direction, and so I would say with most of the trees I'm in an earlier stage, and try that they behind me or after my presence on this planet, physical presence, they have at least a chance to become that.
And what inspired you to create your own company, the Baumzone?
To have freedom, to have the free choice what to do with the trees, and not being forced to follow, I would say, different styles of, or maybe even worse words or expressions to deal with trees. I wanted to do it my way, and it gives me the best possibility for that. Also in the climbing style, I'm really passionate about security standards, and I really want to have a smooth and as secure work day as possible. And I also want to create a good atmosphere in the working process during this process, for me, for myself, and also for the people I work with, because let's face it, it is a dangerous job, or at least it has the potential to be dangerous, and most of the people working with me like it, or they This is the reason why they climb and why they are working in this field. But it's important that we all are back home in the evening, healthy and well.
You developed a special method or new method how to deal with chainsaw in trees. Can you tell us something more about that?
Yeah, that's a very crucial topic because these chainsaws are actually designed to use on the ground, and all the big companies mainly produce their chainsaws for this purpose, and we use them up in the tree, and we have to do this quite often. You see a lot of procedures that are unsafe and maybe look cool, but there is a high danger, of course. You're working up in the height in the tree, sometimes just on ropes. You're not standing there, and you cannot run away if something happens because you're fixed to there. And from my perspective of teaching as well, which I do quite a lot, I see especially young people starting to work with the chainsaw in the tree, struggling how to hold this machine. And by watching them and also by giving them advice, I developed some how to hold on the chainsaw, that it's not dangerous, that you don't hurt yourself, that you have both hands on the chainsaw, which is probably the most important rule actually, and at the same time the rule that is not taken serious most of the time. And so the safety standard should be there. The ergonomic should be there. For example, if you work with a chainsaw above your head or very far away from your body, it will get exhausting after some minutes. And when you're exhausted, the potential of injury is rising enormously. And the third thing is that it has to be quick. So I'm completely aware that if the methods we're using up there with the chainsaw are safe and ergonomic and slow, no one will use them. And so I developed some, like, let's say, some tricks or some maybe a bit different ways to hold the chainsaw that fulfills all these three aspects.
You cooperate quite closely with the Arbor Technical Institute Kreitl in Rasdorf. What do you do there?
I've been working for Marcel, who is the owner of the company, and his assistant, and Julia, for about 10 years now. Mm-hmm. As a trainer for courses, for these level A and B climbing courses. So I've seen, and I'm doing several weeks a year, up to 10 weeks a year of courses, and there I see a lot of people coming from all different backgrounds, and seeing all the different problems and their approaches to the whole thing. I also teach them the theoretical background of trees, which is very important because there's a lot of people coming from other professions into our business and have no green background, no tree background maybe. So it's also always very exciting to tell someone who has not so much background maybe from the scratch what a tree is, how it works. It's interesting. Yeah? And in the last years I've taken over more and more responsibility for the equipment as well, and for the technical details of the school and of the teaching, and working together with all of our trainers to train the trainers as well. Mm-hmm. To have a consistent way of teaching.
You are a supervisor for EAC on the level of European tree worker, so you travel around Europe supervising exams. Can you tell us something more about these activities?
Every time I go somewhere, I see the things we all have in common as first. It really doesn't matter if you go to Italy, Spain, to the very north, to the very east, to the very south. It's the same kind of people that want the same kind of things, that have the same problems, struggling with equipment, with chainsaws, with safety rules, and doing a really good job and learning a lot, because most of the time this knowledge is even new to people coming from the universities with ecological background. Even for those people, the content of the European tree worker is, at least in some parts, new to them, and that's very interesting. Yeah. So I actually see more the things we have in common than language difficulties or stuff like that. That's not a big problem.
And if you compare the level, how the ETW is delivered throughout Europe, are you satisfied with that, or do you feel some challenges?
Especially, of course, there's challenges, but I have the strong feeling that especially the trainers and then the examiners are taking it really serious, and they're really committing to have a high standard. And my role is to help them maybe a bit if they have questions about organizational questions or about rules as well, because of course there's a lot of rules, and they have to fail people sometimes. It happens, and it's nothing good or bad, it's fact that happens. And they, of course, sometimes ask them me, is it okay if we fail this person because he or she did this or that, and then I can give them feedback and talk to them, and also talk to the persons that failed afterwards. For me, it's always the best thing if people fail, or those people who fail still come back and tell me as a trainer or as a supervisor, or tell others, it was okay, I know that, but I still have learned a lot, and it was still, it brought me to another level. And I've heard that quite often, and this is really something that encourages me to go on with the whole thing.
We are just now coming back from a project with acronym Arbor Croatia. Can you tell us something about that project and what you as a deputy of EAC have learned there?
I had the lucky chance to visit a lot of spots that I had never seen, or not, at least not within such a short range of time. Institutes that are really pushing science further, and they're really on the, how would you say, on the very tip of science. That was really interesting for me. Our field of science is really new. I can feel that. There's a lot of changes going on. If you stop reading and listening for 5 years, you're out. You can start from new, I think, from the scratch. And within this project, I had the chance to see where it's going, where this knowledge is produced, how it's transferred to people in other countries as well. And I could also witness a process in a country like Croatia, where this process starts already. It just is at the start, you would say. There was the first courses, the first exam. I was there as a supervisor just some days ago on a retaker exam, and so this was watching the people who failed in one station or 2 stations, and they had to do it again, and I saw they really were highly prepared and really took it serious and really did it good at the second time. So failure is really no problem. There's a lot of people who make it even better then, or become even better workers or scientists or whatever afterwards, after failing. It's a part of the whole thing. Yeah.
If you imagine someone new coming to you in the industry, what advice would you deliver to him or her?
I will ask a lot of questions actually. Why they would do it, what they expect from it. Especially if they want to be climbers or workers or mute drivers, whatever. If they want to really physically work, they have to be aware that is work. And even if all the videos you can watch look really cool, they mostly don't show us sweating up there. And it is tough work. It's beautiful work. When you come down and you have a result that you really like, it gives you satisfaction. But it's work. You have to be aware of that. And you go into tree care, no matter what level, if you're consultant, worker, whatever, this constant learning thing is serious. It's not just a saying, or it's definitely different from other jobs. Things we do now, some things we question, we just try it out, and we have to be open and evaluate and monitor what we're doing. Even as a worker, if I cut like this, I go there back next year, 2 years ago, 2 years later, and see how the tree reacts. And then if it's not the way I thought, maybe I should rethink it. And this is an ongoing process. I think it's stronger than in other handcrafts or in other fields of work.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.